on how-tos. This is one of those things that I don't think that the world will ever get over because it's too ingrained. But there really isn't anything for which the how-to does not only become the first thing that the human being searches for, but it's the only thing. Everything isn't just centered around the how-to. Everything is the how-to. There is nothing else besides the how-to. And for as long as that will exist, which will be for a very, very long time, it may never end, to be honest. I don't think it'll ever end. It would be very surprising. Um, as long as it exists, then a the human being will not be able to discover the truth about anything because the how-to will always get in the way of his discovering the truth. He will not be able to use his own ingenuity. He will not be able to use what's available to him in order to discover the truth. The how-to will be the blockage, the wall which stands between him and where he wants to go. The how-to will be the one step which appears to be forward, but it really isn't. And then it's 7 steps backwards. So with a how-to, a person will just keep moving backwards and backwards. Obviously, I'm talking about non-mechanical things, but it is so, it is so, it isn't a matter of prevalence. It isn't a matter of its ubiquitousness. It's the matter of its depth. You cannot remove the patterns of grain from a block of wood. You can't remove smell or the fragrance from a flower. Can't separate those two things. Now, in those situations, there is a literal impossibility. In this case, it isn't a literal impossibility. One does not have to go towards how to's, but it might as well be literal because that's how deeply ingrained it is. Somebody wants to become happy, which obviously everybody does, or wants to find peace, or wants to find whatever. And then he reads a book on how to become happy. And upon mentioning that, the person hearing that will say, well, what's wrong with that? Obviously, that's what I would do is I'd read a book on how to do it. If I don't know how to do it, obviously the person hasn't gotten there, so he reads a book on how to do it. And so it's very, very logical. It makes sense. And that's what also helps to keep it deeply ingrained in the minds of human beings. But for someone to give you a method or a technique to become happy, someone's going to give you a method or a technique to mow the yard, that's fine. And it isn't fine because that's proper or good or allowed or the rules say that it's fine because that can work. This is how you hold the lawnmower. This is the direction in which you mow it. That makes sense because it's mechanical. But how to become happy? What? I mean, I could say, what are they going to tell you? But obviously, they are telling you. They're telling you for your whole life. And the new books keep coming out every day, and new articles keep getting written, and new podcasts keep going on. And so, after all the podcasts about happiness, after all the books that have been written on happiness, Is anyone happy? So that isn't to say that someone shouldn't do it. That really is a an examination for oneself that does it work or not. And if someone in it, and if someone finds that he reads a book on how to become happy and he becomes happy, fine. It's fine. There's no law against that. But if something worked, then more and more things wouldn't have to keep coming out. And the world is just it's just a place of creating more and more stuff. It's all about volume. It's all just creating more and more things. It, but it's never about the volume. It's about what's actually effective, what's actually of of true value, meaning it has a lasting effect. And if it doesn't, then it doesn't matter if more of it comes out, then that's more of something which doesn't work. Well, why would you want more of something which doesn't work? If it works, then you'd want more of it. And quite honestly, if it worked, you wouldn't need more of it because it worked. But if it doesn't work, then you could say in the beginning that I need more because maybe the stuff that's already come out isn't the right stuff yet, and maybe as more comes out, maybe the right stuff will come out. And that's fine in the beginning, but this has been going on for centuries. This is not the beginning. It's been going on for centuries. So all the happiness stuff that was going to come out is already here. So then one has to decide, okay, well, did that work? So the how to is a bottomless pit, and one doesn't really recover from it because one can only recover from something if there's another option. There is no other option in society. There's no other option in the world. There's no non-how to book. There's no non-how to speaker. There's no non-how to guru. It just exists. If there was, then what would he say? He wouldn't say anything because there's no how to. Because the person, he's the one doing the talking, and therefore he wants to give a how to. And those who are doing the listening, they want to hear a how to. If there's no how to give, and no how to get, then neither the speaker or the listener will show up. So everything goes away. So it's never about that if someone should stop looking at how tos and someone should no one should do anything. Um, it's a matter of someone, if a given human being wants to examine what works and what does not work. And as pedestrian and as plain and basic as that may sound, it really is a quite a gigantic leap for human beings um, because of the evidence. Humans always do things that don't work for their whole lives. So obviously, it must not be as pedestrian and as basic as it may sound. Because if it was truly as basic as it sounded, then people wouldn't be doing that. But if they are, then it can't really be basic. So the world, society, all of these, it is filled with things that do not work. That's why it's available in plenty. That's why it's overflowing in its availability. If it was something magnificently valuable, I mean, no one's giving away diamonds. So the things that are plentiful are the things that do not work. Human beings just like to hear things. because they like the concept, because it sounds. And the speakers, they like to speak. They enjoy that if they give a how-to and then someone does the how-to and then they did the how-to and they could say that, so and so told me how to do the how-to and I feel better now and thank you very much. And so and nothing is wrong with either of that. There's zero wrong with either any of that. But it ends up it's you wouldn't one a reasonable person would not think that this is how it is, but this is how it is. Not because I say, but just look around, look at your own self, look at your neighbor, look around. That if something doesn't work, people would stop. Humans are not interested in what works. They are interested in following concepts, and and because they are brainwashed with concepts from the time of youth, then the concept becomes their God. It doesn't matter if it works or not, as long as they follow the concept, as long as they can say, well, at least I tried. As long as they can say, well, at least I did the 6,000 how-tos. You can't blame me for lack of effort. I worked hard. And all of that's fine. But what that really shows is the person then didn't really want to get there. Because if someone really wants to get somewhere and the how-to doesn't work, he drops the how-to. Not because he should, but just because he does. So if a lot of books and podcasts and media and speakers and conferences and institutions are being built around happiness, and no one's happy, then sitting up in the sky looking down, one would, on a very basic level, say, well, something is off. But no one says that something is off because no one's really interested in the offness. They're interested in just activity going on. People like action because they've been brainwashed with that. Don't think, do. Take action. Do. Practice this, run for that. Do these 5 steps. Go follow him. Go do that. Doesn't matter if it gets anywhere, but just, they are given a pat on the back by society, and therefore they also give a pat on their back to themselves. But at least they followed the concept of doing something. At the very least, they can put that in their pocket. That I did something. It doesn't matter if it didn't work, but I did something. And that's fine. But that's how human beings think. They aren't interested in results. They aren't interested in any of that. That's a whole other dimension. This is what happens when human beings are brainwashed with concepts. This is what happens when concepts are created in society. Concepts are pie in the sky. All that matters is what works. And if it works, it doesn't need to turn into a concept. Concepts are for book writing. Concepts are to have things that you can put a PhD on the end of it and then turn it into a course and a degree for some school. Because if it wasn't a concept, then you couldn't turn it into anything. It has to become something. So you have to have concept. You have to anoint it and adorn it and put it on the wall and in big letters and write a book about it. It has to. You have to develop a name for the concept, so the concept can become something. And then once it becomes something, then it needs followers to follow the concept. It's like religion. See, everything in society it's all false. It's all based upon things that have no meaning. It's all based upon things that have no relevance. It's based upon social ideas. It's based upon concepts that people were taught should be the way. It's based upon notions according to what sounds nice. It's all, everything is centered around those kind of things. The cosmetics, the sounding nice, the superfluousness, the superficialities. That's what everything is based upon. So this is not, these words are not about having a human being stop following how to's, because that is an attempt to try to make someone do something. And then that turns into a concept in itself. All the gurus and the speakers and the authors and everyone, oh, everyone just has a new thing they're trying to bring in. And every new thing is a new thing for you to do. It's a new way to attach a piece of string to your already strung up life. It's the attempt to create more marionettes. So if my intent is to make you not seek how to's, and I would hang up right now because I have no interest in making you not seek how to's, because if you don't seek how to's, it doesn't do anything for me. I'm talking because I enjoy speaking the truth. So the how to's are, amongst other concepts, one of the fundaments, one of the foundations of all aspects of society, of academics, of learning, of self-help, of spirituality, of anything. There's nothing in which the how-to isn't one of the major pillars and foundations. So the things that sometimes it takes the least of is what humans don't really bring. That doesn't require a lot. But my saying it doesn't require a lot, it would be a mistake to construe that as an attempt to make you bring it just because it doesn't require a lot. I have no interest in having you bring anything or change anything because, like I said, it doesn't have any interest to me. And the things that don't really require a lot are what human beings tend to avoid. So it doesn't require a lot, for instance, that if someone says do a how-to on how to become happy or whatever it is, whatever the non-mechanical thing is, and it either it works in a very fleeting fashion or it doesn't happen at all. It doesn't require a lot for a human being to say, did that work? Did that work? Does that, did it pan out? But the human doesn't do that. And everyone knows that the human doesn't do that because this is what's going on all the time. That's how you know. And the person listening to this, he himself doesn't. There's no one listening to this who doesn't who isn't guilty of that. And I don't mean to use the word guilty in any derogatory fashion. There's no human being who's listening to this that doesn't do that. And that goes back to why? Well, because, and that's proof, not because of philosophy, no, but concrete evidence by opening your two eyes and looking at your own life and outside, and it takes about maybe 6.5 seconds to see that human beings are not interested in what works. They are interested in being good concept followers because that's what they get appreciated for, either by somebody else or by themselves. But they were good little boys and girls and they followed the concept. Doesn't matter if it doesn't work. That isn't the point. The concept isn't whether it works. The concept of did you do it or not? That's the concept. And so if they did it, they get a sense of good feeling from them that at least I tried. Rather than not trying, which isn't wrong, which isn't wrong. Trying is not better than not. That's fine. I mean, that's reasonable. So I think those who say that I say don't follow prescriptions, they don't really listen to the message because it really isn't even a message. There's no message. It's a non-message. I am making a simple statement of fact that human beings follow how-tos, and despite them not getting them somewhere, they keep doing them. Therefore, and after all that, they then ask for more how-tos, and that isn't wrong. But the point is that they never examine did the how-to work. There's no opinion there. That's just fact. And just because it's fact doesn't mean that something needs to be done. Nothing needs to be done. I'm just making a fact, making a statement of fact. So for someone to say that I want people not to follow prescriptions, in some ways they give me too much credit because they think I care to get across that message. I don't have any message to get across. I love the truth for whatever reason. Human beings don't do anything for me. But how-tos are an addiction, a behavior pattern, and a incredibly deep-seated element within the very fabric of the human psyche, which the vast majority of humans will never even be introduced to the fact that they're doing that. They would never even forget, like, whether they should follow prescriptions or not. They will never even, for their entire life, the vast majority of human beings, for their entire life, will never even hear anything about prescriptions and how to's. They will always be following them. They'll never even know that maybe that's something to look at.